Bars, 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 bars. Bars, 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 bars.
Live from the Winn DC Radio studio in the shops at Iverson. This is the Balancing Act Radio Show, hosted by AJ Throwback, only on WinDCRadio.com, the Winn DC Radio app, Facebook Live and YouTube Live on the Winn DC Radio pages, and of course, it's all powered by GoWin.media.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens and everybody in between. Welcome to the official Hump Day Motivation for the DMV and beyond. This is, of course, the one and only Bars. I am your host, AJ Throwback, in the Winn DC Radio studios, broadcasting live and proudly from the shops at Iverson, right here in Hillcrest Heights, Maryland. Appreciate everybody who is tuned in via Facebook Live, YouTube Live, the app, the Winn DC Radio app, and online. Appreciate everybody tuning in on this much warmer Wednesday afternoon. Stark difference from this time last Wednesday when it was way colder. Today it was a little bit of jacket weather, so it's also kind of pneumonia weather, so y'all beware. You know what I mean? And I know I definitely will. I know I definitely will, but you know what I'm saying, I just appreciate everybody who is tuned in right now. Before we get into what we're going to be getting into today, as many of you all know, somebody won on Sunday in the Super Bowl. Didn't watch it, but from all accounts, it was, some people say it was the worst Super Bowl they've ever seen, most boring Super Bowl they've ever seen. New England Patriots, congratulations to them. I know Neen is happy. I know Calvin is happy. You know what I'm saying? The Patriots fans that I know, they have won now their sixth Super Bowl in not only Brady Belichick era, but also in franchise history, tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as I predicted, because they weren't going to let the franchise fall below 500. But a very defensive game to many people's chagrin. Nobody really wants to see a defensive standoff in a Super Bowl. It's always good to see a balance of offense and defense, but people didn't get that. They got defense. And congratulations to the Rams for making it that far. And their defense played very well up until the end. So I mean, it's hard to fault them for giving up a touchdown. But when your offense isn't really doing a lot, what can you really do? But that's it. That's all. So like I said, next year, do not be surprised if the Patriots win their seventh and make history once again. Also, historically, this is the lowest scoring Super Bowl in NFL history. The last one was the Super Bowl between the Dolphins and Washington's pro football team. 14-7 game. This game, 13-3 game. So only 16 points scored between both teams. Anyway, we got a jam-packed show for y'all today. Of course, as you can see from all of the regalia, Black History Month, celebrating it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't really big it up as much as they should, or as we once did when we were younger. That's what me and Pandora was just talking about. But I still take pride in it because that's what I grew up on. So we're going to be talking about a lot of events that happened this past particular week in Black History, from February 1st to February 6th. Also going to be saluting the HBCUs right here in the DMV. This week we're going to start off with the ones in the district. In the 1 o'clock hour, I'm going to be giving a top 5 of my most memorable Black History moments in my lifetime. And then also saluting those who are paving the way for the future. Black History today and tomorrow. Specifically those young people who are under the age of 25, showcasing what they've been doing. Also, there is a question on the floor. So many of you have heard Jennifer Lopez has been chosen by the Grammys to do a Motown tribute. That is no mistake in what I said. Jennifer Lopez, of all people, has been chosen to do a Motown tribute. So the question of the day is, who would you have rather seen do a Motown tribute other than Jennifer Lopez? So if you follow me on Facebook, government name Joseph Lawrence Goins. But even if you don't, the post is public, so you can feel free to comment on it, give your input, or you can comment on Facebook Live if you're watching on Facebook Live. So I'll try to answer that question toward, or give a couple of answers toward the end of the show. For now, we're going to go ahead and get into the music. This is Blackout, The Trap, Wake Up, on the official Hump Day Motivation for the DMV and beyond. This is Bars.
Ain't nobody from outside bringing down the property value. It's these folks shooting each other and selling that crack rock.
Well, how you think the crack rock gets into the country? We don't own any planes. We don't own no ships. We are not the people who are flying and floating that in here. Why is it there's a liquor store on almost every corner in the black community?
Why?
Why? They want us to kill ourselves.
Back to sell it dope, back to sell it coke. We back on the block, ain't no hole. Back to rob, niggas back to killing, niggas back to mob, niggas back to hit, niggas back to sell it, back to catch an A, back to babies on the block, catch a strays, back to niggas in the trap, catch a plays. Are you judge? They just try and make a way. Back to handcuffs, we back in the system. Never black man and never black victim. Never good mother turn crack victim. Never local rapper turn rap victim. Never household without a father. Never mother can't let go the bottle. Never daughter teacher, daughter pop. She don't go, she can't even stop it. Never uncle teacher, nephew cook it up. We don't give a how they look at us. Kick him out of school, we gon' get a tool. When he see it out, we gon' lift it up. Never junkie writing on the yawn. Never young nigga with a gun. He was looking up to the drug, didn't see it out, we gon' have some fun. Nigga, look what you did to my people. Look what you did. Look what you did to my people. Look what you did. You made my young evil. Look what you did to my people. Look what you did to my people. Look what you did. Look what you did to my people. Look what you did. Look what you did to my people. Look what you did. You made my young evil. Look what you did to my people. Look what you did to my people. Look what you did. Look what you did. Another girl wanna be a bad. She a queen, but she thinks she average. She about to do whatever for the bag. If you sell a yeah, that's some sad shit. Never go with a real. Go to court with them, you gon' squeal. You don't ride with them, you don't kill with them. Better hold your people to go and deal with them. Who started the project? They started the project. It always a project. Somewhere we could die at. Somewhere we could slide at. They cannot deny that. Minimum wage all out in the hood. We cannot survive that. Who put the drugs in the hood? Who put the guns in the hood? They put that shit in the hood. Them people, they know what they doing. They want us to keep shit going. Generation out of generation. They don't want to see a nigga make it. If you make it, they try to take it. Who started the mob? Oh, he went to college trying to do right. He ain't got no job. White man in charge. And he got a daughter, she needs some pampers. He ain't try to rob, he ain't try to slam. He just want a job, but after the interview, nobody answered.
But what if poverty isn't natural? What if it's something that's created, and created by very specific public policies that are very often largely guided by very wealthy people?
Back to sell it dope, back to sell it coke. We back on the block and back to rob, niggas back to kill it, niggas back to mob, niggas back to hit, niggas back to sell it, back to catch an A, back to babies on the block, catch a stray, back to niggas in the trap, catch a plays. Are you judge? They just try and make them. White man in charge.
You hear this spot right here? This could be your spot where you pull your new customer. If you're a nascent or established business or entrepreneur and you believe you have the right product for our audience, then advertise with Bars. For more details on our rates, packages, and deals for first-time clients, email balancingactradioshow@gmail.com. That's balancingactradioshow@gmail.com.
Yeah. Celebrities toast to black excellence. Toast to Villa, rolling with black presidents. I wanna rock right now, it's evident. Luke Skywalker and I'm flyer than you ever been. We came together shaking like a snow globe. Papa shot fresh, let me activate the soul glow. Chilling in all white threads like it's snowing. Think I see my next ex, I'm going in. We setting sail, we on the boat, y'all. We turn the main deck into a dance hall. My eyes with the eyes of a goddess, my God. tripping and falling in August. 5'5" for the brown skin, looking flawless. Trying to keep my hands to myself, girl, I promise. Analyzing the figure like an accountant. Whispering in her ear, made an announcement.
He's trying to let me know that I'm beautiful. Heard it all before. What makes him different? Maybe I should let it flow and see where all this goes. I'll keep him on his toes. He promises he won't keep me with shit. He's trying to let me know that I'm beautiful. Heard it all before. What makes him different? Maybe I should let it flow and see where all this goes. I'll keep him on his toes. He promises he won't keep me with shit.
She thinks I'm wildin', you think I'm lonely island. By the way, I brag on the boat, I'm not so calm with it. Go overboard, she Goldie Hawn with it. Along with the fact that I might observe her drunk, spilling wine on my life preserver. Nice curves, reserve the touch. With the sex overdrive, I'ma hurt the clutch. Cry right now, makeover appeal. Lap dance now, take over the wheel. Stay over and chill, what's the motto? Yeah, I got a motto, but I gotta find a bottle to share with. Fine wine paired with flip, a mix of the humble and the arrogance. She can try out, ride out, Southside hardhead. Grew up fast track nearby the barheads.
He's trying to let me know that I'm beautiful. Heard it all before. What makes him different? Maybe I should let it flow and see where all this goes. I'll keep him on his toes. He promises he won't keep me with shit. He's trying to let me know that I'm beautiful. Heard it all before. What makes him different? Maybe I should let it flow and see where all this goes. I'll keep him on his toes. He promises he won't keep me with shit.
Your eyes shining bright like diamonds. Getting lost in your smile feels timeless. So tell me, where do we go from here? I don't wanna lose this moment. I just wanna pull you in closer. Can you feel it? Cause I see you and you see me. Tell me what it's gonna be. Your presence is a blessing and I'm guessing by my side's where you wanna be. Yeah, where you love to be. So come on.
If you're an urban contemporary indie artist, then this is your platform. Send us clean versions of your music to balancingactradioshow@gmail.com. That's balancingactradioshow@gmail.com.
You a letter to see how you doing. Is there anything that I can do to make you feel better? I heard you fell on a loan, didn't have anyone you could call on. I'm right here if you need me. Sitting on the full house, you ain't in the photo. I've been down a while ago, just piece it all together. Been down, not who I used to be, I'm on another level. No need to worry, not looking for labels. That's what I'm bringing, I brought the whole table. It's you. Baby, it's you. Baby, it's you.
I was gonna write you, I was gonna tell you that there ain't nobody like you. I was gonna play it off, keep acting I don't like you. With something deep inside, said you need me, so I'm right here. Yeah, a different lane from the lanes. Took a minute to explain that I'm more than just the same. I just want the time, nothing else. Or maybe sip some wine if it helps. Or maybe take a ride, won't you hold on? I can only hold my feelings back for only so long. Lending you an ear if you need me. Or find a special spot you can meet me. You want it, you got it, girl, say so. The choice is all yours, please don't say no. You're feeling my vibe, body say go. No line for no hookup, it's all about
you. exactly what you were sent to this earth for. I stand on my own too, I'm done with that you're retired off force. I'm thinking you had to be made for me because we blend with no force. Exceeded my status, you everything I wanted and a little more. Baby, it's you. Baby, it's you.
Welcome back to the Balancing Act Radio Show, hosted by AJ Throwback, only on WinDCRadio.com and the WinDC Radio app, powered by GoWin.media.
Yeah. That was Row B featuring Jamel Mr. City with Baby It's You. Before that, we had Miss Moore, Artemis Real, and Ryan Lucas with Boat Party. And starting off the set, we had Blackout with The Trap Wake Up. And also, shout out to Blackout. He just celebrated a birthday, February 2nd. That is friend of the show, none other than Miss Tamika Marrow. That's her brother. So, you know what I'm saying? Both Aquariuses be celebrating birthdays this month. Her birthday is next Wednesday. So, you know what I'm saying? Happy belated birthday to Blackout. Happy early birthday to Mika. Shout out to everybody who is watching on Facebook Live. Shout out to my man Calvin Williams of Lush Vibes Radio. Dope show. Plays some great music with some great vibes, man. Like if you just want to relax and chill out with a nice little ambient textures and all of that, my man got you covered. And plays, a nice variety of things. So definitely make sure y'all support him. Look him up on Instagram at Lush Vibes Radio. Also, definitely got to shout out Miss Razzle Dazzle, one of the hardest working women in show business. You know what I'm saying? Stays plugging for her artist, Sideshow Marley, and also for Bars, man. She just supports the show. So shout out to you. And of course, the Mrs. is watching. So, baby, I love you. Appreciate all your support every single week. You are the Capitan of Team Bars. And also, I see you, Blackout. No problem, brother. No problem, man. And I think that's all the shout outs for now. And just shout out everybody that's tuned in right now, whether you're listening on the app, whether you're listening online, you're watching Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. All right, let's go ahead and let's talk about Black history, man. Like I said at the outset, how I kind of wanted to do this was I wanted to make it a thing talking about the moments in Black history in this past week. So since we only get 28, sometimes 29 days of Black history, I kind of wanted to hit on major or events that happened that a lot of people do know about and some people don't know about that have happened in this past week. So let's roll it back to the beginning of the month. So on February 1st, 1960, very historic day that most people do know about. The Greensboro Ford, or the A&T Ford, as a lot of people know, they staged a sit-in, and they were first-year students at North Carolina A&T University. First-year students, not sophomores, seniors, juniors, freshmen. You know what I'm saying? And you have 4 students, Ezell Blair Jr., Joseph McNeil, David Richmond, and Franklin McLean. Staged a sit-in at the F.W. Woolworth in Greensboro, North Carolina. And, of course, they were called all types of names. They were harassed and a whole bunch of other things. But they remained, despite being told, we don't serve you here, despite everything that they've been through, they stayed until the closing of the store on that night. And despite being asked to leave by not only the waitress, but store manager Clarence Harris. With all of the protests that happened at that specific Woolworth in Greensboro, nearly 6 months later and $200,000 in losses because of the demonstrations, Clarence Harris finally decided to quietly integrate that Woolworth by asking 3 of his employees who were black to change out of their work clothes into street clothes and order a meal at the counter. Now, of course, this didn't receive a whole bunch of publicity at the time, but eventually they integrated because of the pressure. And a lot of times that's how it happened back in the day. And although this was not the first ever sit-in, a lot of, some people think this was the first sit-in, but it wasn't. But this was one of the first major ones that was covered, and it ended up being a catalyst for more sit-ins throughout the 1960s that desegregated white-only establishments. So that was February 1st, 1960. February 2nd, 1880, man by the name of Samuel Lowry. I forget where he was from, but he became the first black lawyer to argue a case before the Supreme Court after becoming the 5th black attorney and the first black Southerner admitted to the Supreme Court bar. Now, what's interesting about Lowry, this is a major accomplishment, but this was a man who spent the majority of his life in the silk industry. So his daughter, Anne, she was investing in silkworms. And after she passed away in 1877, he focused more of his attention on the silk industry, became an advocate for the silk industry, and actually was an award-winning exhibitionist at international exhibitions for silk in the 1880s and 1890s. So not bad for somebody whose focus was not even law. You know what I mean? But that's history right there. February 3rd, 1870, the 15th Amendment was ratified, giving black men the right to vote. Now, you think, okay, this is a really landmark thing. Pump the brakes. Of course, we know about post-Reconstruction. We know about the Dixiecrats, the Southern Dixiecrats, and we know about all of the efforts that they went through to disenfranchise not only blacks, but poor whites. So here's a quote that says, from 1890 to 1908, 10 of the 11 Southern states rewrote their constitutions. All included provisions that effectively restricted voter registration and suffrage, including requirements for poll taxes, increased residency, and subjective literacy tests. Now, a lot of these literacy tests were definitely geared toward black people because we had just really come out of slavery, and years prior, we talking 25 years prior, between 1865 and 1890. So, but a lot of these literacy tests were imposed even before 1890, such as, I want to say it's in Florida. They imposed poll taxes in 1885. So you had these things, poll taxes, you had to pay a certain tax in order to actually vote. You had to pass a literacy test to actually vote. You had to live. You see a lot of these things today, you have to have all of these requirements in order to even register to vote. So really the most egregious offenders were Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, North Carolina, and the Commonwealth, Virginia. One of the reasons why I'll never live in Virginia. Just terrible history. Maryland's not exceptionally great, but better than Virginia. I digress. So it wasn't until the enactment of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, because what we have to note, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, while it had some provisions in it to discourage people from disenfranchising black people, it did not address the whole issue of literacy tests. But the Voting Rights Act of 1965, that completely eliminated literacy tests and similar devices that were historically used to disenfranchise racial minorities and minorities in general. Because like I said, those were tests that were put in place to discourage poor whites. And of course, at that time, you're talking 1890, 1908, women weren't allowed to vote. So you're talking all men who were only allowed to vote. February 4th, 1964, Austin T. Walden, a prominent black lawyer in Atlanta who worked on several civil rights cases and campaigns for voter registration by African Americans, notably helping to increase the number of black registered voters in Atlanta from 1,800 in 1910 to 25,000 in 1939. Walden became Georgia's first black judge since Reconstruction. Yeah, Reconstruction. You're talking about almost 100 years that they had a black judge. After serving the Georgia State Democratic Committee, and now granted, he would pass away about a year and a half later, but he lived long enough to see the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the introduction of the Voting Rights Act. So this was somebody who was really integral in voting rights, especially in Georgia, like I said before, a state who was egregious in instituting their poll taxes. So salute to the late, great A.T. Walden. February 5th, 1958, Clifton Reginald Wharton Sr., Baltimore native, and a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, became the first black person to head a U.S. embassy in Europe by rising through the ranks of foreign service instead of being elected, much like Frederick Douglass was. He was confirmed as minister to Romania in 1958, and from 1958 to 1961, and then later he was appointed as ambassador to Norway from 1961 to 1964. And he also was the first black foreign service officer to become chief of a diplomatic mission. So, you know, like, I've got black people doing like different things in law, you know, desegregating places. But this one for today, this day in history, 1820, the Mayflower of Liberia, the first organized immigration of U.S. blacks back to Africa from New York to Sierra Leone. And what would end up happening is that this immigration it started with 86 freed blacks, former slaves, from both the U.S. Well, I think all of them were from the U.S., but then there would eventually be ones who came from the Caribbean. This immigration would lead to the development of the Republic of Liberia in 1822, which began as a settlement of the American Colonization Society, which was actually led by a white man. I forget his name, but the ACS, they believe free blacks would have more opportunity for freedom and prosperity in Africa than they would in the U.S. And so Liberia would, at the behest of the ACS, they encouraged the settlers who went there. Like I said, this was former U.S. slaves, freed blacks, freeborn blacks, and Afro-Caribbeans. They would eventually declare their independence on July 26, 1847, and they were the first African republic to do so. And also Liberia was the first of, or the oldest, they're the oldest of the modern republics. And then the U.S. finally recognized their declaration of independence on February 5th, yesterday. So another day in history. February 5th, 1862. So it took them almost 15 years to recognize Liberia as an independent state. Between 1822 and the Civil War, more than 15,000 freed and freeborn blacks who faced restrictions in the U.S. and nearly 3,200 Afro-Caribbeans moved to Liberia. So that is this past week in Black history. Lots of things have happened, and a lot of these things don't get talked about. I wanted to make sure that I highlighted things that we all know about, but a lot of things that we don't know about, because I didn't know about the whole thing with Liberia, that was actually a settlement comprised of freed blacks, freeborn blacks, and Afro-Caribbeans. Never knew that, but that's the beauty of Black history. You get to study, you get to see these things, find these things for yourself, and it's so much easier now. You just Google. You know what I'm saying? So I hope everybody appreciated those tidbits of information. So yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. Shout out, gotta give a few more shout outs before we get into the music. Shout out to my sis, my Win DC Radio sis, Neen of Let's Be Clear, Neen and Becky. They will be celebrating. Make sure y'all tune in next Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m. right here on WinDCRadio.com. They're going to be celebrating their 1-year anniversary. The fellas of Mike's Corner, Shout out to Mike, Will, Skull, Mr. Sean. They celebrated their 1-year anniversary yesterday, and the ladies, they're going to be celebrating their anniversary next week. So make sure y'all tune in for that show. I know it's going to be a good show, just like last night's show was a fantastic show. So shout out to Neen. Shout out to my main man, Otis. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. And, of course, my cuz bro, Donnell. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Got to preach that knowledge, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to spread that information. That's part of what this platform is for. So, without further ado, let's get back into the music. This is Burke Bucks featuring Losi on the track with She Just Another You on the official Hump Day Motivation for the DMV and beyond. This is Bars.
Drip season. Dripping for the whole summer. Walked in the club with my G-Wall in the building. What it do? Everybody gone off the Henny boys, you know how we do. The light must have hit my chain just right, cause I seen this little chick coming through. She approached me real aggressive, how I like her. Then she said my name, Val, who are you? I told her I'm the boss of my city. Laughed, I ain't the boss, but I boss, of course. My name Burke Bucks, but you can call me Bucks. What you doing in this place? I ain't never seen you. She said she from out of town. Told her, well, I'll show you around. Said she with a couple friends. I said, long story short, we end up. The girls with my fellas, and I know they about to get it in. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you.
I'll see you on the track.
I'm just another you.
She see me, she see you. She say I'm just like you. That's all I heard, I put her through. It's hard, but I'ma see us make it through. Stay down with my crew, do what we had to do. Ain't no options, had to go and get the loot. My vision, I just wanna ride around in a new cool. And I ain't got no patience, no stopping. I just drive with ambition, live my life on the mission. Remember nights up in the kitchen? On the block I used to pitch it. Love me blowing kisses, taking sneak dissing. And no, I ain't trippin', I ain't worried, I'ma get it. I ain't sorry, but I don't love these. One hurt me all the same. I don't trust these.
She just another you. She just another you. And she just another you. She just another you. And she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she be just like you, wildin' just like you, scrapping just like you, acting just like you. Hopped in the car, who moved the seat just like you. Pulled up on the G, tryna beef just like you. Sexy just like you, but vex me just like you. Call 50 times and want nothing just like you. Pulling out weapons, trying to stab me just like you. That's why I need another, she'll probably be just like you. Looking for a wife dig, cause I don't like what wife do. Want your money, time, and your life too spiteful. Cuss me out, the words feel like shots from a rifle. I take them and I stride, cause I'm a man with pride. When I try to leave, she say, if you did, you gon' die. That's the type that had me thinking, damn, shorty wild. And she never gon' change, so I'ma stay the f*** out her way. Cause she just another you. She just another you. And she just another you. She just another you. And she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. She just another you. Man, she just another you. Man, she just another you.
Want to get down with the bars revolution? We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Bars On Air.
GMG, the feature presentation. Shanti McCoy. I'ma say and do what I want, cause y'all gonna talk about me anyway, right? Real season.
I'ma be J-Lo, a backstreet when I'm 50. I'm Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl, flashing my. I just met the plug, I got his card. He took me to his crib, next day I got him raw. Oh, I fuck with bitches that look like they haven't seen. I'm grabbing position by they feet like the president. We missing Barack, don't ride with Donald Trump. His wife ain't no Michelle, that bitch dizzy as a bunch of clown niggas trying to get my cookies. If they free El Chapo, I might give them some. Listen, only real hitters get the penetrated. You can't name one sucker nigga I ever dated. This for my broke bitch, this for my rich bitch. That effing vodka got me about to kiss bitch. Girl, don't let me f your man cause he won't wanna leave. That bag shots, pull my hair, nigga, this ain't no weed. Every week is a different gift, I'm calling them Santa. I got them coming back like Tom Brady versus Atlanta. My niggas strapping hard, avoiding the narcos. They got me in the mix, I'm moving like Griselda Blanco. Peter Pablo, free Larry Hoover. I know the scammers, the drug dealers, and all the shooters. Trigger fingers, no Twitter fingers, don't do computers. Headshots got your mama screaming now, hallelujah.
Looking for the most balanced review of your forthcoming or current album or mixtape? Then email a formal inquiry along with your cover art, headshot, bio, and either links to your music or the project files to Balancing Act Radio Show at gmail.com. That's Balancing Act Radio Show at gmail.com.
I just might not make it today, I just might not make it tomorrow, but I know one thing is for sure, I'ma make it if I keep going. I know everything's makeshift, so it ain't no need to trip, oh no. I know people that sold, they sold, and I know if I went down that road, I would never come out the same as they did. No, I would never come out the same as they did. So I might as well hold my morals close, don't let them go. Oh no, I don't think I was meant for that life of not living right, purposely for my currency. So to you and myself I speak when I say don't break and concede. No, defeat is a state of mind. You'll stay alright if you realize what it feels like to have everything but nothing on the inside. Your life is the best, don't let nobody tell you otherwise. You keep pushing how you are and I promise that you will fly. Might take longer than you like, but luckily success has no time. Till then sing this rhyme here. I just might not make it today, I just might not make it tomorrow, but I know one thing is for sure, I'ma make it if I keep going. This does not concern my ego. No, this is all about my people. Cause if you ask me, man, I feel like I made it. Compare me now from when I started, ain't nothing that you can say. Cause I work hard, sure you do too, but you still sold. So there's an obvious favor for you, but I got a song for you. I'm coming along so smooth, and I kept all my morals, cause yesterday's not tomorrow. Can't lie, I got a bit dazzled by how you were living, so I made this song to keep myself on track. I must accept that I'm not like you with all your scheming. Gotta be careful, cause your grass just may look greener, but trust that I can achieve it without the demons that you succumb to. Those ain't problems I want to, so I'll just keep going the slow route till I get just what I want to. And in the meantime, I'll keep singing. I I just might not make it today. I just might not make it tomorrow. But I know one thing is for sure. I'ma make it if I keep going.
It's time to get back to AJ Throwback and Bars, only on WinDCRadio.com and the WinDC Radio app, powered by GoWin.media.
Yeah, that was So Easy with Keep Going. Before that, we had Shanti McCoy with Hallelujah Freestyle, and starting off the set, we had Burke Bucks featuring Losi on the track with She Just Another You. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this this next segment. So this is a profile. I wanted to showcase the HBCUs because historically black, for those who don't know, historically black colleges and universities. I wanted to showcase that because I feel like, and I think a lot of black people will agree with this, is that this is a major, when you talk about institutions that are important to the black community and the development of the black community and our proliferation of excellence in American society and black history being American history, you can't undercut HBCUs and their contributions to American society. And I wanted to showcase first, of course, the DMV. Wanted to start with the D, that is DC, my hometown. And showcase the two HBCUs that we have in DC. So, starting off with University of District of Columbia. A lot of people don't know it wasn't always called that. It started off in 1851. The roots go all the way back to then. It was the normal school for colored girls, started by an abolitionist and a white woman by the name of Myrtilla Minor. She was a major part of the abolitionist movement, and eventually it would be called Minor Normal School, and it would eventually join DCPS in 1879 before Congress enacted a statute to convert minor, along with I think it was Wilson. I think it was Washington Normal School, and then it turned into Wilson Normal School. I think that's what it was called. But anyway, this happened in 1929, and what they did was it converted Minor Normal School into a 4-year college, and it was specifically for teachers. So it would eventually become Minor Teachers College, and it was one of only 2 public institutions of higher education. The key thing is public, because a lot of people might be like, well, what about Howard? Howard's a private institution. We'll get to Howard shortly. But one of only 2 public institutions of higher education for decades in DC, along with Wilson Teachers College. So what happened is, after Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, Minor Teachers College and Wilson Teachers College were merged into one, and it became the District of Columbia Teachers College. But there were a lot of people in the city who wanted a more comprehensive academic institution that represented more than just something for teachers. It's specifically that's public higher education. So what ended up happening was, in 1966, Congress enacted the District of Columbia Public Education Act. And what happened was, it established Federal City College and Washington Technical Institute, and it provided training careers outside of teaching. And what's interesting about Federal City College, if I'm not mistaken, my mom went to Federal City College back in the day. Now, she didn't finish college at that time, but she ended up going to Federal City College. But then, in an effort to create an even more comprehensive university, the City Council consolidated the 3 schools: Minor Teachers College, District of Columbia Teachers College, Federal City College, and Washington Technical Institute, and combined all 3 schools into what we now know as the University of the District of Columbia in 1976. And under President Jimmy Carter's leadership, what ended up happening was UDC consolidated their academic programs and established colleges in business and public management, education and human ecology, liberal and fine arts, life sciences, physical science, engineering and technology, and university college and continuing education. Today, UDC offers 81 undergraduate and graduate degree academic programs. Notable alumni from UDC, and a lot of people, now we all know a lot of the ones from Howard, but, and again, we'll get to Howard. A lot of people know a lot of the ones from Howard, but a lot of the ones from UDC were really important people. So you have former University of Maryland Eastern Shore President Dr. Thelma B. Thompson, former New Orleans Police Superintendent and Atlanta Police Chief Richard Pennington, Norma Holloway Johnson, who was the first African-American woman to serve as a chief judge of a U.S. District Court here, in D.C. at U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia, and Lennox Yearwood, who is the president and CEO of the Hip Hop Caucus, which was founded in 2004 on the premise that the hip hop generation is uniquely qualified to address human rights for the 21st century. Now, this is something that is important to me as somebody who is an advocate of HBCUs, although I didn't go to an HBCU, and I'll get to that momentarily. I still believe in supporting our HBCUs because many of us know the struggles that a lot of HBCUs are going through in terms of financing and getting assistance in terms of making sure that their buildings stay open. We've heard so many stories about so many HBCUs which have been closed because they couldn't afford to keep their doors open. And a lot of these universities and colleges, a lot of their facilities could use some upgrades. So, and I'm not necessarily saying UDC is in that position because there have been a lot of upgrades to UDC. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're a public university. But it's always good to donate. So even if it's $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever, like these are institutions right here in our backyard. So to donate, please visit www.udc.edu/giving-online. Now, the second and only other HBCU in DC is, of course, the well-known, the Mecca, Howard University, which was founded in 1866 by missionaries and opened in 1867. The school was originally a training ground for black preachers, and it was actually named after Civil War hero General Oliver O. Howard, a white man, who was also commissioner of the Freedmen's Bureau, which aided freed blacks and he served as president of Howard University from 1869 to 1872. And in the first 5 years of Howard's doors being open, Howard University had already educated 150,000 freed blacks. But then the arrival of Mordecai Wyatt Johnson in 1926 as the university's first black president turned the fortunes of the school around even more. So Howard at that time was not accredited despite having 8 schools and colleges. By the end of Johnson's 34-year tenure as president, Howard has 6,000 students per year, which is nearly double now in 2019 with 11,000 students. An $8 million budget and more than doubled the buildings and facilities. And another thing to note, 3 of the premier Greek letter organizations in the Divine Nine were all founded at Howard. Alpha Kappa Alpha was the first established by black college women and was founded by a group of 16 women on January 15, 1908. Omega Psi Phi was founded by a group of 3 men on November 17, 1911, and was the first predominantly black fraternity to be founded at an HBCU. Alpha Phi Alpha, let's note, was founded at Cornell. It was the first of the black fraternities and sororities or Greek letter organizations, founded in 1906, but it was at Cornell University. And then Delta Sigma Theta was founded by a group of 22 women on January 13th, 1913. And since its inception, Howard has awarded more than 100,000 degrees and ranks among the nation's highest producers of black professionals in medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, engineering, nursing, architecture, religion, law, music, social work, and education. And another thing to note, Howard is one of only 48 U.S. private doctoral research extensive universities and produces more African American PhDs than any other university, not just in the U.S., in the world. No other university produces more black PhDs than Howard University. So many reasons why Howard is considered the Mecca. And of course, the notable alumni, we know a lot of these names: Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, Toni Morrison, Felicia Rashad, Debbie Allen, U.S. Ambassador and former Mayor Andrew Young, Taraji P. Henson, Zora Neale Hurston, Roberta Flack, Lala Anthony, Sean P. Diddy Combs, Anthony Anderson, Susan Kelechi Watson. If you don't know who Susan Kelechi Watson is, if you watch This Is Us, she's Randall's wife on This Is Us. Marlon Wayans, Mayor Ras Baraka, Stokely Carmichael, Congressman Elijah Cummings, Chadwick Boseman, and Ben's Chili Bowl co-founder and owner Ben Ali. So, to donate to Howard University, please visit giving.howard.edu. And I just want to close this segment by saying this. Although I didn't attend these two universities, for me, these two universities are very important to my development, specifically UDC, because I spent probably 7 out of 9 summers and fall. There were a lot of fall programs I attended, but 7 out of 9 years of being up at UDC, I spent either at a math, science, computer program called Project Yes and Project Camps. Learned so much, developed so much through that program. And then later, of course, being a proud member of Mayor Barry's Youth Leadership Institute, and becoming youth mayor. You know, there are so many moments that are connected to being at UDC. I learned so much being on that campus, despite never having enrolled there. I learned so much being on that campus, and it was just the spirit of the campus. You know, like it just being at HBCU, you know, like just the pride that was there. I mean, you're talking the first place that I ever was on stage rapping. This was the place where I got elected youth mayor of DC in 1995. So many great memories are tied to UDC, though I never attended. And the same thing with Howard University, because there was a lot of time that I spent at Howard University because of my friends who were going to Howard, and also Mayor Barry's Youth Leadership Institute was up there for one summer while I was a table trainer at NBYLI. So a lot of memories tied to both of these universities, though I never went. And the only reason, frankly, that I did not go to a HBCU, that's the thing, I wanted to go to a HBCU so bad. But the only reason I didn't go was because the money. You know, like I recognize it now in hindsight. A lot of these universities they had to be very selective with who they gave scholarships to. And Howard was in my top 3 choices of schools I wanted to go to. My first choice was Morehouse, but my second choice was Howard. But they had all of these requirements you had to meet in order to even qualify for scholarships, and I didn't meet them. So that's the only reason I didn't go to a HBCU. Other than that, I would have easily gone to a HBCU, and I probably would have gone to Howard. Although as much time as I spent at UDC, I should have gone to UDC. And I gotta definitely highlight UDC because that's where my mother graduated with her teaching degree. And other people I know who graduated with law degrees, good friends of mine who graduated with law degrees. And also, of course, Howard University. I know many people, most of my friends that graduated from one of the 2 schools graduated from Howard. So my man JT, who's a lawyer, shout out to the Wong host of A Seat at the Table podcast, Howard alum, proud Howard alum, and just so many people. Like I can't think of everybody right now that I know from Howard, but I definitely, have to shout out those who went to HBCUs, and I salute y'all. You know what I'm saying? The whole time I'm a little bit jealous that y'all went and I wasn't able to go. But anyway, so definitely wanted to highlight those, and either next week or the following week, we're going to highlight the HBCUs in the state of Maryland. So definitely be on the lookout for that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get back into the music. Let me make sure. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get back into the music. This is, and I really dig this song right here. This is Lord Lou, Don B the Artist, K Quick, and Mr. TMG with DMV Stories. And it is only right that it receives this honor right here.
If somebody tell you he hot, man, you know everybody hot now, man, he fish grease.
That's how we feel about this track right here. This is the Fish Grease Pick of the Week, only on Bars, on WinDCRadio.com and the WinDC Radio app, powered by GoWin.media.
Survive to stay alive, bullets fly past the mother's eyes. The streets is the father to these other guys. Moved to Waldorf, Harley Station, probably facing incarceration, but I was patient. My father was a barber, so my head was straight. My line was made to be great, sublime in his f***ing state. Well connected like Chesapeake Bay, out the trenches every day, working for the pay. Shooting dice ain't for play, we ain't nice when we play. Van Gogh, that van goes swiftly, no car with me. Hustling at the bus stop, get shifty. We all out of mind, built in minds through sight. So in the meantime, I blend in with the cities. Blow smoke when times he was a young Don B, trying to make $1 out of f***ing 50. For that buck 9, grab that Glock 9, rob it at the stop sign, do him dirty like 6'9", Tekashi with the heat out, Wasabi Green running, throw the keys out, the Dinya be gunning for that fresh gear. Now we're next year, cause only God's look the best here. Through the Dinya B we move swiftly, falling like we 6 feet, we only 6 deep, carrying 60. So I skate through and through canals, cause my style make them move for miles, between crowds, in and out like crab shacks, brown bags and stacks, cops like where the stash at. Move with the K quickness, dipped in hot butter, the feds can't tell what the fish is, so we resume business, unless a hoe need to know it's down low. Lord Lou, bright Nubian flow, luminous glow. I don't set the bar low unless it's limbo. Born and raised with the go-go, so I can go gadget. My habit is the DMV. You gonna need New Balance to murder me, Lord Lou.
Look, stepping up in my phone pauses, but never went to college. Yeah, that hunger, that BSU, probably with your baby mama. She a scholar, stay bopping her head in silence, stay bopping her through the hours. A buoy bobber, be popping that ass at the CFE on the weekends. TCB through the speakers, but if you step on my J's, then we reckon you square up. We running them up when they shooting them up. When all of this luck, we should've took our ass to love and found some DTS. Cause we mobbing the streets, deep in the roots growing out of our feet. Deep fried chicken wings with mumbo sauce on the side. Side of fries with in Arizona, it was mortified. Then we cancel water, get a cup of water, put some juice inside. Hop up in the ride, and we cruise to some Tenley Town heroes. Bigger hoes than ground zero. Hit some hookah with some shots, all I'm looking for is a pillow. Product of my environment, we tough talking and arrogant. To correlate the rumors, they mixing up like experiment. The boulevards are safe haven, we stay hanging. No game banging, but hit on women with name ranging from Ashley to hey baby, you JQ. I went smack, but she joined on me. I ain't with that. I was called local with the high waters, and my homies let me at the ground, so I had to kirk on them. While people sites that I ghosted, like I'm always in the cut posted. With a cigarello, had to cheap quick and made my way to West Bubble. Cause no one wants to live in Waldorf. The fall offs are opposite of Carlos. It's all about the butter, how I dipped on everybody acting bitter. Like a taste of overcooked crab, just take it back. Or I'm giving it back to the ocean right from the shitter. I'm shedding on anybody that triggers my Twitter fingers. I'll say it right in their face. I'm up for helping people win and show talent, but not a lot of people have the balance. They'll rather bow out a challenge instead of staying true to themselves. I keep it real cause it's a force of habit. Don B.
A way of living that had is secluded, though the quiet surroundings and the subtle views that nearest my amusement. Being a youngin' on the countryside, so I sided with neutrality. Cause I follow city life as well as being stationed with nature that spoke to me while I'm viewing the chosen tree in the swamp. It's divinity, electricity flowing through Maryland as it pushes the light up on the district. When you should have said that nobody's looking for a summer, because every line of festivity captivated every spirit. Now come on and go on this trip with me to the area where I was born. This head on this trail that I follow through the land. Met him everywhere we stand. Through the hookah clouds we were greeted with open arms and hands. Then I brought that Obey onto my order of rockin' and grabbed days after that was cracking as we cranked the livest band. Speakers in critical condition. Listen to the rare essence in the backyard, my friend. They would be out of the town as we head to the lounge. I was setting my vibe again. Riding through PG County in a minute, we'll wind a bit. I was in Mall, snickerdoodle in the bag as we headed out the doors to finish tonight's mission. The night's vision with night vision is depicting a party, so let's get it started. With several bottles of Rosé Moscato, we can spark this. Even that will change the dynamics of this evening. This panoramic view of the shenanigans easily put the final stamp on this entire day. Now I'm back on 301 after we got it cranking through the night, I say. After I wind down, I just reflect on everything that happened. I'm a night owl, so I'm still wide awake, and now it's time to take the time out to show my thanks for all of this. Since all the formations all around us gave us all a grin. And every time I recall the stories that I have lived so far, I see them all as blessings. I'm completely restless when I think about my DMV stories, you dig? Let's go.
People really don't know a thing about Murderland. TMG coming through, I had to spread the word again. Country boy, corn-fed, running like a thoroughbred. Black and yellow mixed with a little red. Car parties and cookouts, that's all I know. Older people in the back playing dominoes. Younger cats out front, they playing b-ball, trying to figure out how to get the weed off. Then we over at Hard Times, yeah, the party lit. While my nigga DJ Hyper go ahead and spin this shit. K-Quick in the back, battle rapping and killing shit. Just the way it go down in the DMV, you feeling it? I'm feeling it. I wake up, can't remember shit. Off to the kitchen, eggs and bacon with the side of grits. I love being a country boy, man, you can't get tired of this. I'm from the land of the track, the pools, track race on Sundays. The land that'll show you how to be a man one day. The same place where my son was raised. The same place, DMV, where we bump Marvin Gaye and Chuck Brown all day. This is DMV, come back. MD is where I'm at. It's TMG, I'm on the map. You know, this is my DMV story, you heard? It's your man TMG. Appreciate y'all for going on that journey with me. Oh, and one more thing. Rest in peace to my grandfather, Robert Theodore Carter I. I just wanted to let y'all know. Thank you. Skid 'em.
More topics, more segments, more music means more bars after this.
Win DC Radio brings to you the app. Yes, the app is now available on your Google Play and your App Store, on your iPhone or your Android, any of your pads that you might be using. Be it if it's an iPad, iPad mini, or if you have a Samsung Note, it doesn't matter what you have. Any mobile device, you can get the app so you can listen where you're at to Win DC Radio.
The Shops at Iverson is now undergoing a transformation, creating a mixed-use center where the community can come together to eat, shop, relax, and feel connected. The Shops at Iverson is a 600 KSF mixed-use property consisting of retail and office space now available. Located inside the Beltway on Branch Avenue, Maryland, just minutes from downtown D.C. It's an exciting time at the Shops at Iverson. Several beautiful renovation projects are ongoing, transforming the Shops at Iverson into the new safe community hub. DMV, get ready to enjoy the new food court. Opening late spring, early summer, featuring new restaurants like Chipotle, Quickway Hibachi, Tropical Smoothie, Wingstop, and free Wi-Fi. The Shops at Iverson, the original home of the world-famous Snickerdoodle cookies, is completing several cosmetic improvements to the mall interior, facade, and parking garage. The Shops at Iverson is the new home of Go Win Media, comprised of the DMV's premier internet radio stations, Go Radio Live and Win DC Radio. For updates and more details, check out shopiverson.com. That's shopiverson.com.
Foreplay the Orgasm Show. I am your host, Hot Toddy, along with the Turn Up team, Miss Lolly and Showtime. Foreplay the Orgasm Show is each and every Tuesday night from 8 to 10, bringing you the sexy slow jams with very adult interactive conversation, only on Win DC Radio.
Man, look, y'all already know what time it is. It's your boy, Gerard Street Garvey, and my DJ, Kid Cannon. And when we together, you know what it is. Grind Season Radio, each and every Wednesday from 8 to 10 on Win DC Radio. Don't forget it. Yeah.
Looking for a new look? Check out Hair Academy 2 in the Shops at Iverson, Hillcrest Heights, Maryland. You'll get quality services done by developing stylists and barbers. Senior discounts offered weekly and free barbershop services available when you present a flyer. Chemical treatments are also available. Call 301-899-9100 for hours of operation. Hair Academy 2 in the Shops at Iverson, 3705 Branch Avenue, Suite 1010, lower level, Hillcrest Heights. A new look is waiting for you at Hair Academy 2.
We hope you didn't go too far. It's time for the second hour of the Balancing Act Radio Show, hosted by AJ Throwback, only on WinDCRadio.com and the WinDC Radio app, powered by GoWin.media. Sometimes they're dope and sometimes they're duds, but no matter what, there's always five and it's always an off. Fake me out, expert opinion only. It's, hold on, mind if we use your acronym? We'll take that as a yes. It's T5DOA, only on bars.
Welcome back, second hour of Bars, right here with your man AJ Throwback. Shout out, I wanted to read a comment before we get into the this top five, which is all dope, by the way. So my man Calvin Williams, he said, I'm sorry I didn't even try to apply to an HBCU. I probably would have experienced a lot more success in my life if I had. I probably would have had better help / mentorship had I gone to one. And that's the thing with HBCUs, is that a lot of the people who have gone say how they had that mentorship or that help, or the experience was so much greater because they went to an HBCU versus if they would have gone to a PWI. For those who don't know, PWI, predominantly white institution. Because it's just, you have a lot more people who look like you invested in your success, invested in your growth, invested in your development. And that's not to say that everybody who goes to HBCUs have these great experiences, because it always depends on where you go. But at the same time, I think a lot of times the likelihood of having that support system and that network that you can really have for life is often at an HBCU. And though I attended a PWI, and I wouldn't trade that experience for the world, because I met some of the greatest people I know, including one of my dearest, closest friends, my best friend, Country. You know what I'm saying? Like, I met him at Hobart and William Smith colleges. But I always wanted to go to an HBCU. And I'll get to that. I'll get to what kind of influenced that momentarily. So, shout out also, I wanted to make sure I shout out Becky from Let's Be Clear on every other Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m. WinDCRadio.com. Like I said earlier, they'll be celebrating their 1-year anniversary. I also want to send a special shout out to Toddy, Lolly, Showtime of Foreplay the Orgasm Show on every Tuesday, 8 to 10 p.m. right here on WinDCRadio.com. They sent me a shout out yesterday. Lolly did, and I really they said Toddy's famous quote, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. So they flipped that and they shouted me out. So I definitely appreciate all of their support, and and I support them wholeheartedly as I support many of the shows. I support all of the shows right here on WinDCRadio.com. We have a lot of great programming right here. So definitely wanted to make sure that I shouted them out. So let's get into this top five. So these are, for me, the most memorable Black history moments in my lifetime while I've been alive. Because I could easily talk about the stuff that happened before I was alive. But I'd like to talk about the things that I witnessed in my lifetime that were great Black history moments to me. So, number 5, Mae Jemison becomes the first African-American woman to travel in space aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour on September 12, 1992. At the time, that was a big deal because I was attending Jefferson Junior High School in Southwest DC. Jeff was really a school focused on math, science, computers, and technology. So and at the time, I want to say Intelsat, they were, I think it was Intelsat, they were very much connected to Jeff in terms of the programs and the type of curriculum that was involved at Jefferson. So that was a big deal at the time. And also for me, personally, I was interested in all types of engineering, but one of the types of engineering that I was starting to grow to be interested in was aerospace engineering. So what I would do is that I would create these model planes out of cardboard paper, much like I did with, many of you know me, I used to create these model metro buses out of cardboard paper. So then I started doing the same thing with airplanes and creating airplanes based on existing models and testing out different, how wing structure made for a better flight for airplanes. And so like I was in science fair competitions and all types of stuff, testing out that particular theory just based on wing design. I wasn't testing force or anything like that, just wing design. And so, and I did pretty well in a lot of the science fairs. But anyway, so I was interested in aerospace at that time. So for Mae Jemison, especially being Redemption after witnessing in my lifetime the second black person to travel into space, Ronald McNair, after witnessing the horrifying tragedy that was the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986, where everybody aboard that space shuttle, it exploded on the way up and it never made it into space, unfortunately. So to see a black woman go into space for the first time in my lifetime, that was an amazing thing to see, because it was a good example to set for a lot of black kids who may have been interested in a career in aerospace engineering or engineering period, because Mae Jemison was an engineer. And so she goes into space, and her idol is actually Bessie Coleman. And so she has a picture of Bessie Coleman on the space shuttle with her. Bessie Coleman, one of the most well-known black aviators, and just having that inspiration is just inspiring to a lot of people, but especially black women, young black girls who may be interested in that and needed somebody to encourage them to go into that same field. Who better than Mae Jemison? You know what I'm saying? So that's my number 5 moment. Number 4, The Cosby Show. Now, we can all feel how we feel about Bill Cosby at this point, and feel like a lot of the things that he did outside of what he did for television and culture, suspect or criminal, just outright criminal. But that's neither here or there right now. We're just talking about historical moments. So Cosby Show debuts on NBC September 20th, 1984. And before we get into how historic The Cosby Show was, one thing to note, like at that time, like when it debuted, I'm 8 days away from my 5th birthday. And so at that time, the Jeffersons were in their last season on CBS. And they were like that show that kind of came before The Cosby Show that showed a different side of affluence, because George Jefferson is not Cliff Huxtable in terms of character. George Jefferson's a wild dude that would call a white person a honky in a minute. You know what I'm saying? All this wild stuff. Like it was like, the funny thing about the Jeffersons is that they were unafraid to expose bigotry on TV at the time, especially being an offspring of All in the Family. And so The Cosby Show was a much different show. It was a lot milder. They were a bigger family because you really only had the son in the Jeffersons, whereas in The Cosby Show, you had Theo, you had Vanessa, you had Rudy, and you had Denise, and I always forget, good grief, I never remember the oldest daughter's name. I just know her name in real life, Sabrina, I think it's LaBeouf. But I can never remember her name on the actual show. But you had this family of diverse personalities. But then you have this father who's a lawyer, and you have this mother father who's a doctor, mother who's a lawyer, and notably the father graduated from a fictional but an HBCU nonetheless, Hillman College. And that was one of the biggest reasons. The influence between The Cosby Show and A Different World, that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go to an HBCU. And so there was a lot of influence there. And then The Cosby Show was one of those shows, it's one of the few shows for me in television history that when I watch the episodes, I can say, I remember watching that episode. I remember that episode very well. The only other show for me, like, that's not a cartoon that's like that is Martin. But every other show is like, if I watch them, like, I think I remember that show. But The Cosby Show, I was so glued to it as a kid that, you know, I remember pretty much every episode that ever aired. If you show up for me, like, oh yeah, I remember that one. But in terms of the history, so The Cosby Show, it goes on to be the most successful show featuring an African-American cast in television history. It had a run of 5 straight years being the #1 rated show on TV between 1985 and 1990. It was a top 5 show for the first 7 out of 8 seasons and never fell below the top 20 by the year's end in terms of TV ratings. In this final season, it was ranked number 18, but still number 18. There are a lot of shows that wish they could have been in the top 20 that didn't make it. Especially a lot of ones that were on NBC. But Cosby Show ran NBC, and the highly successful show helped propel the network at that time, because actually a lot of people don't realize NBC was struggling before the 1980s once Brandon Tartikoff got there president. And so you saw the proliferation of shows like The Cosby Show, A Different World, in terms of predominantly black cast, but then like a lot of other shows like The Cheers, The Golden Girls, and you can't forget other shows like 227 Amen. A lot of, like, The Cosby Show really laid that foundation for the success of a lot of these other black shows on NBC during that particular era. Moving on, number 3, October 16, 1995. A lot of y'all already know where I'm going with this. Any of my brothers out there. Washington, D.C., on the Mall, the Million Man March. I am 16, just turned 16 at the time, a few weeks before. I am knee deep in being youth mayor of DC, really getting my legs underneath me, understanding, you know, what I can bring to the table. Highly involved in politics, highly involved in community activism. And I go to this march and I just see this sea. And I mean, when I say shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder, you really had to like brush past a lot of people in order to like get around during the Million Man March. There was so many black men there. It was just like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my entire life, to see a bunch of men who looked like me in one place, gathering peacefully. And actually, the Million Man March is one of the largest peaceful gatherings in world history. But what was beautiful about it was that you see this peaceful assembly during an era. If anybody know about the 90s and how violent the 90s were, whether you're talking about DC, Detroit, LA, New York, Chicago, any of the major US cities in the 90s were riddled with homicides. And so to see no incidents whatsoever happen at the Million Man March, it was just an amazing thing to see that we could come together and we could be unified. And although at the time I wasn't extremely familiar with Minister Louis Farrakhan, I gained a newfound respect for him because of his message of atonement and reconciliation. Because I know a lot of black men at that time wanted to reconcile with a lot of things that they weren't doing either in their families, in their communities, or how they weren't necessarily contributing. And so it was a message of we have to get right as black men for our communities, for our families, for our sisters, for our community. And it was just one of the most memorable moments I've ever had. And it's hard to describe, honestly. It's hard to describe. You really just had to have been there to witness it. Number 2, and a part of me feels a way about putting this number 2 ahead of the Million Man March. But this is, for me, this is just so iconic. So, and I want to try to like wrap this up fairly quickly because I realize I'm kind of running short on time. But anyway, so January 31st, 1988. I am posted in front of my TV. Now, mind you, for the past couple of days, I'm posted in front of my TV. And all of the hoopla before Super Bowl 22 between the Denver Broncos and Washington's pro football team. So all of the hype was for John Elway, star quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback, Denver Broncos at the time, and his receiving corps and their defense. It was just like the way that they made it seem like they were going to mollywop Washington because their starting quarterback, Doug Williams. Doug Williams, who did not get anywhere near as much hype as John Elway. Doug Williams, who had to go through several quarterback controversies, whether it was with Jay Schrader, whether it was with Mark Rippon. Doug Williams was never really the guy. Even though Joe Gibbs brought him in because Joe Gibbs had experience with him in Tampa Bay, he was never Joe Gibbs' guy. Joe Gibbs was never sold out on Doug Williams. And mind you, Doug Williams has set history before even that Super Bowl. Doug Williams was the first black quarterback to take a team to a championship game because he took in the Super Bowl era. He took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, mind you, who were 0-26 their first 2 years to start off. In 1976, 1977, they were 0-26. Doug Williams came in. He was drafted in 1978. Came in and turned that team around, and they became a playoff contending team in 1979. Made black history before he made black history. So then, fast forward, he gets to Washington. During the game, I'm watching the game. They're down 10-0. Doug Williams is having a rough game. He threw a pick, didn't have a great game. Then he gets injured really bad. And like the way, if you ever seen the video, you just swear he's not coming back in the game. So then enter Jay Schrader. Bum sauce extraordinaire. He comes in the game. When I say he does nothing, he literally does nothing. Completes no passes for no yards. And Doug Williams is sitting on the side like, I am not about to let this guy come in and steal my shine and lose this game for us. No way. He miraculously comes back in the game, proceeds to make history. First player in Super Bowl history to throw for 4 touchdowns in a half. The only player, remains the only player to throw for 4 touchdowns in a quarter, and became the first black quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl. And he is the first and the only black quarterback to be named Super Bowl MVP. Because note, Russell Wilson is the only other one to start and win a Super Bowl, but Malcolm Smith ended up being the game's MVP of Super Bowl 48. So Doug Williams, man, I always tip my hat to Doug Williams. That was just one of the most memorable moments in my life. And then he finished 18-29, 340 yards, 4 touchdowns, only that early pick. He had a solid game after that. But number one, I'm gonna wrap up this segment. Number one, November 4th, 2008, Senator Barack Hussein Obama, and I'm gonna say his whole name, Barack Hussein Obama, elected the first African American to be elected president of the office of the President of the United States. And the reason why this was so important, because in my lifetime, I witnessed Jesse Jackson run for president twice, in 1984 and 1988. But a lot of times we overlook that in terms of its importance in setting things up for Barack Obama to become president of the United States in 20 years after Jesse Jackson's last campaign. And so I knew, but the thing is, I knew Barack Obama would be hopeful when he was senator in Illinois in 2004. Like, his name just kept coming up. And it wasn't even that I knew so much about him. It's just, when you get a feeling about somebody, you just feel it in your spirit, like, that guy's special. That guy has a chance to actually be president. And for many of us who didn't think we'd see it in our lifetime, especially those of us who are much older, who definitely didn't think that they'd see it in their lifetime because they were around for segregation. They were around for the civil rights movement, all the struggles that we had to go through in order to get to the point where we are now. A lot of people didn't think that they'd see it in their lifetime. So the emotion, the hope, the promise that we witnessed on that day when he was elected, when he found out he was elected, and then when you see how many people gathered. I'm not sure if it was the largest gathering for a presidential inauguration, but it's among the largest peaceful gatherings in world history. At least 1.8 million people gathered for President Barack Obama's inauguration. And even though I wasn't there for that, and I wanted to go on U Street because I was hearing about how U Street, when he got elected, how like it was just so alive with passion, with energy. I wanted to be at both of those experiences, but just even seeing it, witnessing it in my lifetime. I mean, I don't know too many people who wouldn't say that's their number one. You know what I'm saying? Black folks. But that's my top 5. Thank you, Calvin. Sandra, Cosby Show. Sandra. I never remember her name. I knew it began with an S, but I could never remember her name. Sandra. And he said I had to look it up myself. Couldn't remember her name. She was the most nondescript child of the Cosby Show. You know what I mean? Like, nobody remembers Sandra. You know what I'm saying? They probably remember Elvin before they remember Sandra, because Cliff was always giving Elvin a hard time. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah, that segment went kind of long in the tooth, but let's go ahead and get back to some music. This is the homie D-Bell. D-Bell, who will be here in 2 weeks. This is his brand new single. This is probably an exclusive. But this is Unrequited Yin Yang on the official Hump Day Motivation for the DMV and beyond. This is Bars.
Hearts mend in time, they say. What's done in dark shines brighter in day. Can't time ring a bell that's already wrong? Our friendship was sublime, built to withstand time. So how did we go wrong? And can we move forward? It all. Just sit back and watch it all unfold now. I know I was the last one to call when friends depend on the tough times. I know I made some selfish decisions, deviated from what's right. I know light revealed it all, admitted my wrongs. Can't please everyone. Did you graduate? Well, yes, no, maybe. 2 kids, 2 different mothers, but so what? Nothing's greater than the mother's love. That's just essential as the mom. We won't make it alone. 2 is greater than 1. We have to move forward. Moving forward, only good vibes. No, this change ain't happening overnight. I'm making conscious efforts to be right. I'm moving forward, only good vibes. No, this change ain't happening overnight. I'm making conscious efforts to be right. sorry, fuck was that about? I admit we both done played our parts, yeah. Heart stop when all I got from you is low vibrations. Just now with bickering or verbal altercations. I'd rather move forward. But you mean so much to my life.
Say it.
Love me today.
Then you
leave tonight. At the end of the day, I'm moving forward, never backwards. At the end of the day, I'm moving forward, never backwards. Cause I'm moving forward, only good vibes. No, this change ain't happen overnight. I'm making conscious efforts to do right, yeah. I'm moving forward, only good vibes. No, this change ain't happen overnight. I'm making conscious efforts to do right. Baby, if you love me, then let it show. Baby, if you love me, then let it show. Oh, baby. Last rays from the sun grace her face. Daylight ends the night, brings shades of gray. I asked her her fears and if she loves the same. She evades my question if she don't hear me. I don't wanna leave, lady. But if you don't want us, then let me know. I don't wanna leave, lady. But if you don't want us, then let me go. Yeah. Just tell me to leave, yeah, and I won't return. I don't wanna leave, lady. But if you don't want us, then let me know. I don't wanna leave, and I don't want to leave, lady. But if you don't want us, then let me go. Yeah.
Giving you the full spectrum with our topics, segments, guests, and of course, the best indie music in the DMV and beyond. This is the Balancing Act Radio Show, only on WinDCRadio.com and the WinDC Radio app, powered by GoWin.media.
Ever since you came into my life, I never knew that I would feel so alive with you. My best friend, my lover, you always hold me down. The same one that I didn't think would come around. You are so beautiful. I asked for a blessing and he sent me an angel. Special from all angles. I hold my eyes speak 1,000 words cause I'm speechless when I see you. Cause your love pulls me down. I don't wanna just be around, wanna stick around. My best friend, my lover, you always hold me down. The same one that you didn't think would come around. Yeah, have no fear, cause I'm right here. Cry on me, I wanna see your tears. You don't have to be scared of me. I just wanna give you everything, even a wedding ring. You're so precious to me. Wars may begin and end. No storm can keep you in. Still be right here. Yeah, I have to believe it. Yeah, I have to receive it. Cause you hold me down. Cause your love holds me down. I don't wanna just be around, wanna stick around. Best friend, my lover, and I hold you down. The same one that I didn't think would come around. Cause your love holds me down. Yeah, cause your love holds me down. Oh.
Giving you the full spectrum with our topics, segments, guests, and of course, the best indie music in the DMV and beyond. This is the Balancing Act Radio Show, only on WinDCRadio.com and the WinDC Radio app, powered by GoWin.media.
Is running out. We don't have too long now. You and I are not supposed to be here, baby. But my heart is open wide, and so is my body. And I think that we should take advantage of this moment. Maybe I'm a fiend for it. Just gotta have you. You know you're my bad habit, and I know that I'm yours too. I don't wanna walk away. I'm standing here right in front of you, and I don't know what to say. So I guess I gotta show you that I'm gonna love you. Everywhere that you want me to touch you. I'm making my mission just to please you. I'm coming with you, baby, I won't leave you. And tonight you're gonna love me. Wrap my legs around your head and touch me. Go deep as you can, baby, please me. Promise me that you ain't gonna leave me, boy. Our time here is almost over, and we're just getting started. There's so much more that I have yet to explore on you, boy. But I can't stop now. Might as well go all the way. Let's just say fuck it and go for it. Yeah, what's the point of doing it halfway? Maybe I'm a fiend for it. Maybe I'm a fiend. I just to sing. So tonight I'm gonna love you. Everywhere that you want me to touch you. I'm making my mission just to please you. Come and let you baby, I believe you. And tonight you gotta love me. Tonight you can touch me. Touch me, baby. Please me. Promise me that you ain't gonna leave me. Tonight me. Love you. Everywhere that you want me to touch you. I'm making my mission just to please you, baby. Come and get you, baby, I believe. I'm coming, baby. Tonight you gotta love me. Wrap my legs around your hips. Touch me, baby. Hold you back, you can't touch me, baby. Promise me that you ain't gonna leave me. Don't leave me, boy.
It's time to get back to AJ Throwback and Bars, only on WinDCRadio.com and the WinDC Radio app, powered by GoWin.media.
Yeah, that was Shemaine with Tonight. Man, let me tell you, that's one of my favorite songs right there. That song should be in rotation on Beyond This Show. That song's fire. Before that, we had the homie Amani Philly will Hold Me Down. Shout out to Amani Philly, one of our show's biggest supporters. And starting off the set, we had D Bell with Unrequited Yin Yang. And again, D Bell will be here Wednesday, February 20th. I guess it would be 12:15. So yeah, make sure y'all tune in for that particular show. Because we running a little low on time, I still wanted to get to the last segment. I'll try to breeze through this a little bit better than I have with the previous segments. The last one went kind of long, but anyway. So I wanted to highlight a lot of the future that we have, because it's easy to focus on, who's popping right now in terms of like who's popular, but a lot of these people are already above 25 or above 30. But I wanted to highlight 5 young people under the age of 25 who are doing great things, and some of them are actually legit making Black history as we speak. So I want to start off with a young lady born in Dallas, residing in New York. Her name is Haley Thomas, 18 years old. She's an international speaker, health activist, vegan food and lifestyle influencer, podcaster, the youngest certified integrative nutrition health coach in the United States. Not Black, specifically the youngest, period. And the founder and CEO of the nonprofit Happy, which stands for Healthy, Active, Positive, Purposeful Youth. She founded Happy when she was only 12 years old, and it was to address the need for free, affordable, plant-based nutrition and culinary education in underserved, at-risk communities, as well as in schools and through annual summer camps. She's personally engaged over 15,000 kids since beginning her activism in 2010. She was inspired to pursue this passion after her family successfully reversed her father's type 2 diabetes with healthy eating and lifestyle choices, and upon learning that kids were also increasingly being diagnosed with conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. And we all know how much that epidemic has affected our youth, not just Black youth, but our youth throughout the United States. All of Haley's programs, projects, and initiatives are geared toward engaging, educating, motivating, and empowering young people to make healthy lifestyle choices to live their best life. She also hosts the podcast Girl Empowered, interviewing inspiring and empowered women, therefore fulfilling its mission to broadcast women's voices of empowerment. So for more information on her organization, Happy, please visit www.thehappyorg.org. So that's thehappyorg.org. Hailing from Atlanta, Georgia, this young lady, Maya Pinch, another dynamic young sister, 18 years old as well. Award-winning founder and CEO of sustainable fashion brand Maya's Ideas, eco-designer, 3-time TED speaker, global activist, social entrepreneur, filmmaker, philanthropist, and Simon & Schuster author. She has been hand-chosen by Oprah as her youngest Super Soul 100 entrepreneur, changemaker, and thought leader. She does consultation for major fashion brands on how to shift into incorporate eco-friendly fashion and sustainable company practices. She's also been featured in Forbes at only 10 years old. She was awarded the 2016 Coretta Scott King Angel Award, received honors at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference Drum Major for Justice Awards, won the 2013 Black Enterprise Teenpreneur of the Year Award, and was chosen by Magic Johnson to be featured in his 32 Under 32 series. She's been in business for 10 years and has also been sharing her unique, refreshing, and authentic perspective as a keynote speaker. She has given 3 TED Talks, and her latest TED Women Talk has gone viral worldwide and is one of TED's official top 15 TED Women Talks of all time. All time. She's only 18, y'all. She's known as the youngest female to do 2 back-to-back official TED Talks. Maya has also spoken for IBM, Google, the Women Presidents Organization, Verizon, Newell Rubbermaid, Fossil, Girls Inc., Girl Scouts, and more. She also received a commendation from President Barack Obama for outstanding achievement in environmental stewardship. In early 2016, during the Obama administration, she made history when she produced and created the animation and film for the first ever digital report presented to Congress. The report was created to get a women's history museum built in DC. She also founded a nonprofit organization called Maya's Ideas for the Planet and started an ongoing initiative where she designed and has created eco-friendly sanitary pads for women and girls in developing countries and has shipped pads to healthcare facilities in Haiti, Senegal, Somalia, and more. Maya's book, You Got This, published by Simon & Schuster, is being used in schools around the world as curriculum to teach youth entrepreneurship and giving back. Amazing, amazing story. Only 18. All this at 18. So for more information, please visit www.mayasideas, that's MAYAS ideas.com. Young brother from right here in DC, Tony Weaver, 24 years old. He's the creator of Weird Enough Productions, whose company mission can be best summed up in a quote from a Forbes article in January 2017. So it reads, media misrepresentation manifests in stereotype and flawed portrayals of minority groups via different visual mediums. This has been linked to real-world mistreatment and discrimination against members of such groups. It's also tied to people of color receiving less attention from doctors, getting harsher sentences from judges, and even having a higher likelihood of being racially profiled by the police. He later said in that same article about one of his mentees, he said, because I grew up much like Nasir, wishing I could turn on the TV and see positive role models who look like me, I realized other people probably felt the same, and it was at that point that I made the decision to ensure everyone knows that no matter who they are, they can be a hero. So Weird Enough Productions, in their mission, they describe themselves as a comic company building a new world of stories that will change the one we live in. We tell stories that inspire people to embrace their quirks, get hype about being themselves. Stories have unparalleled power to change hearts and minds. So we share ours and open the page for you to share yours. And so their formula is, quote, content plus curricula equals conquer. And it uses media content to change hearts and media literacy to change minds and to change the world for the better. So for more information, please visit www.weirdenoughproductions.com. And finally, this is a tandem. It's two people from 2 different parts of the East Coast. So you have a young lady named Essence Moore from Hillside, New Jersey, and a young man, AJ Carr, also a Johnny Carr from Atlanta, Georgia. So let's talk about Moore. Now, this is an amazing story right here. Moore is the first African-American teen author to have all 3 of her books from her series, The Middle School Chronicles, the first of which became an Amazon top international bestseller in 2015 when she was only 13 years old. First African-American teen author to have her books adopted into teaching curriculum, mandatory. It's mandatory, mind you, in the Hillside, New Jersey School District, Brooklyn, New York Charter Schools District, and the Orange, New Jersey School District. She's also a fashion designer who started her own clothing line branded Essence Couture. In 2015, she launched Essence Couture Spa and Boutique exclusively for children, tweens, and teens to give the youth a place of their own to visit and be pampered, inspired, and educated. Now, on the other hand, AJ Carr, many of you may know him as a recurring character on Showtime's The Chi, which is executive produced by Lena Waithe and created by Lena Waithe. He's only 16. Both of them are only 16, mind you. Professional public speaker and SAG actor, who, in addition to The Chi, he's also appeared on Atlanta, Mercy Street, and Chicago PD. He's the owner of an organization called Building Bosses, which he created to help the youth to explore and cultivate their talents, promote leadership and positivity, build character through self-esteem, and by teaching self-worth, and encouraging the youth to become productive members of society. Building Bosses is a program that pairs young people with successful local business owners who provide guidance and ongoing mentorship. Now, the two of these awesome young people who aren't even 18 yet, under 18, have come together for their own tour, which they call the Essence and AJ's Youth Empowerment Tour, which is geared to empower and inspire the youth by encouraging the youth to follow their dreams, as well as addressing bullying, self-esteem, and creating a forum where the youth can openly address the many issues that affect their communities, schools, and households every day. We encourage them to suggest possible ways they can make a difference in a non-judgment zone. Just amazing things going on with our youth in America, our black youth in America. So, for more information, to connect with Essence's clothing line and to also buy her books, you can go to www.essencecouture, and her name is spelled ESSYNCE Couture, for those who are spelling bee challenged, COUTURE.com. And to find out more about Building Bosses, visit www.buildingbosses.com, and to find out more about Essence and AJ's Youth Empowerment Tour, please visit ESSandAJTour.com. So shout out to our young people doing amazing and great things in our community, and yeah, it's just awesome to see that. Birthday shout outs, I definitely want to make sure that we shout out the Aquariuses out there, but let's start off with a Black History birthday shout out. So the late Melvin B. Tolson, who was born today in 1898 and lived until 1966. He was an educator, columnist, politician, and writer who built up an award-winning debate team. Now this is amazing. So he was at Wiley College, which is an HBCU in Marshall, Texas. So in 1935, he led the Wiley debate team to the national championship to defeat USC before an audience of 1,100 people. And his story, what a lot of people may or may not realize, his story was actually featured in the movie The Great Debaters, which was produced by Oprah Winfrey and starring Denzel Washington as Melvin B. Tolson. So salute to the late great Melvin Tolson, whose birthday is today. Aquarius season continues, so our supporters and listeners, Toon, my man Toon from PGMG, and also my main man Justin, they celebrating birthdays today, so happy birthday, brothers. Taya Simmons, who directed my first music video as an artist. Danny and James Johnson celebrating birthdays tomorrow. My homegirl Aisha that I went to Oban William Smith colleges with, she's celebrating a birthday on Friday. Tyresa and Otis celebrating birthday Saturday. My main man Lou from MBYLI, and my man Keith, who's my roommate in college, celebrating birthdays on Sunday. My man Kay, gotta shout out Kay and Jay of We Made It podcast. Make sure y'all go to Anchor, check them out. My man Charles Holloway and my man Keith Graham celebrating birthdays February 11th, and then my cousin Domily and my man B Brian from that I work with, they'll be celebrating birthdays next Tuesday. So shout out to all the Aquariuses out there. what I'm going to do with the Bars Community Calendar, I'm going to share that information on the Instagram page because we're running out of time. But I definitely still want to get to this right here.
Words of wisdom to get you through the rest of your week. These are the bars for life.
Okay, so before we close out, I wanted to highlight, of course, a Black History quote from one of our great writers. In the short story Sonny's Blues, first published in 1957, James Baldwin wrote, "For while the tale of how we suffer and how we are delighted and how we may triumph is never new, it always must be heard. There isn't any other tale to tell. It's the only light we've got in all of this darkness." And the reason why that's an important quote for me is because I am a writer. I am an artist, and I'm expressive. But regardless of whether you're a writer or not, whether you're an artist or not, if you have a story, especially those of us Black people, our stories are layered. Our stories are rich. There's so much joy and pain in our stories. And though it might seem like it's redundant sometimes to tell these stories, it's our stories, and each of us as individuals, we have to put our own special spin and use that anointing that God gave us in order to tell that story, in order to get it across to people so that we can help other people with our stories, with our travels, with the things that we've learned in our lives. We have to be griots, passing down information and keeping that information going throughout time. So, you know, it's never new, but it's always necessary. And so, salute to James Baldwin, one of our great writers. Later today, make sure y'all continue to stay tuned in to Win DC Radio. DMV Culture Club coming on from 6 to 8 p.m. and then Grind Season Radio from 8 to 10 p.m. right here on WinDCRadio.com, the Win DC Radio app, Facebook Live, YouTube Live for those shows that actually have it. And of course, it's all powered by GoWin.media. Shout out to everybody, part of Team Bars. I appreciate everybody who tuned in today. I didn't really have time to go over the question of the day, but you know, I'll try to read off some of those maybe on an IG post. Oh yes, I am up for a distinct honor. So make sure you go on my personal page. It is between me and DJ Eminem. Shout out to DJ Dirty Rico for having this vote that I actually made. I'm actually a finalist, so please make sure y'all vote in that. Like I said, you can go to my page. You can go to DJ Dirty Rico's page, Rico Scott. So definitely look him up and vote for me. You know what I'm saying? If you like me as a DJ, make sure y'all show that in the vote. But anyway, yeah, so I just thank everybody who tuned in today. Next week, our special guest, I believe, is Nimrod, so of Federal District Records. So we'll be talking to him about what he's got going on with music and everything. And yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and wrap up the show because we are definitely running out of time, and I don't want to run over my time. But like I said, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember, Black is beautiful. Black is worth so much more than what mainstream media will tell you. There's nothing wrong with Black. If you've gone to an HBCU, or if you're thinking about going to an HBCU, there's nothing wrong with an HBCU. There's nothing wrong with a Black business. There's nothing wrong with Black. Black is strong, Black is powerful, and Black is worth more than you can even imagine. So embrace the power in Black. Embrace Black History Month. This is not the last that you're going to hear about Black history during this month. It's not going to be the last you hear about Black history on this program. You know what I mean? So make sure y'all keep that energy going all month and all year long, because Black history is American history, and Black history is 365 days of the year. So thank you to everybody who tuned in. I will see y'all next week. And this is the official Hump Day motivation for the DMV and beyond. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week. Peace, y'all.
Bars.